Next thing we want to talk about is sorting wire. 3 reasons why we want to talk about it. First off, it's very prevalent. We're going to find it everywhere. In every house, someone has wire. Second thing is, it's very simple to sort. Third thing is, and this is just very practical, it doesn't take up a lot of room for the amount of weight we get. We make more money on wire than any other type of scrap when we look at it holistically because of these 3 factors. So here we have a pile of wire. This is randomly pulled from buckets. We typically pull wire buckets out of houses. We sort them in 64-gallon totes. If you look over there, 64-gallon tote is about 100 pounds. So you can move around with ease, 70 to 100 pounds, and you can dump it on the table. That's why we sort it, or we keep it in 64-gallon totes, and then we sort it into gaylords. The 4 types of wire we sort are copper number 1, which is like Romex. You'll see like here. So Romex, what that means is when you bend it, it stays. That's the simplest way to explain it. What it is with Romex and most of the wire that goes in is copper 1, it means it's a single strand, which means it's a single piece of wire, whether it's coated or not, and then that wire stays nice and rigid. It has the highest copper to plastic, rubber, and other things ratio. Second type of wire is copper number 2. So again, power runs through it, but if you look at it, it's multiple strands. It's not a single strand. When you bend it, it does not stay in place like Romex does, right? It bends right back. So that's copper number 2. This is the most prevalent wire you're going to find. Third thing you're looking for when it comes to wire is what we call data cable or data wire. Data cable or data wire, it means it's going to have very, very low voltage going through it. These are your USB cables. These are your Cat5, even like this. This is a cable, a computer cable, or cables for any audio video. That's how we sort it. And then the last thing is the thing we see the most that gets you excited, but it means nothing. Coax. Coax cable is in everybody's house. Every cable company, every satellite company has coax cable. It's one single strand of cable surrounded by metal sheathing and plastic and rubber and a bunch of garbage. We put this in a sheet iron. That's the only thing we'll get for it. So we sort it like that. So when you're sorting wire, you go through your wire buckets. We also take out all imperfections. So when we talk about imperfections, when we have a wire here, we're going to cut off any box like that. That goes in with sheet iron. So to be effective when it comes to scrapping wire, you come through first, cut out all your imperfections, because it'll make it a lot simpler to scrap once you have just wire. And you can take handfuls of different types of wire and throw it in. Something like this I'll cut off, this whole thing here, because there's not much value to it. Now on the other end, I'll keep this, because these ends here are all brass, so I pulled this one back. It's brass. They're not going to knock me for those because they want that when it gets shredded. Go through, cut all your ends, and then from there, sort it based on what you got. So like I said, this is going to be our Romex here. So Romex, that's the number 1 grade. Talking $2 a pound roughly, versus copper number 1, which is maybe $1.50 at best, probably closer to $1 a pound. Again, check your scrapyard to figure out what they want and how they want it sorted. The point is, it's relatively simple. This here is 3 pounds, 4 pounds. So 4 pounds, let's call it 4 pounds, about $2.50 a pound. That's worth $10. Right? When you're scrapping wire, a good scrapper can scrap. Of course, I lost my snips. I always lose my snips. A good scrapper can scrap at about $100 to $150 an hour when they get going, if not more. So in order to be combat effective, I always recommend having all your buckets around you. Cut your wire first and then sort it by grade. Check with your local scrapyard to figure out where, what type of wire they want and who's going to give you the best price. We take our data wire to a different place than we take everything else because they give us a better price. Now I go through this. Once I've sorted all this, I'm looking. The rest of this looks like number 2. So I pulled out the data wire. I pulled out the coax. I pulled out the Romex. Cut out all the imperfections, and the rest of this is number 2. So that's how it is. This is how simple it is to sort wire. Gaylord like that weighs about 700 pounds, $1.50, $2 a pound. That Gaylord can be worth $1,000. We can fill one of those up every month. And that's how you sort wire.